Hello, I'm John Michael Chambers, and welcome to Intel and Insights with Juan O'Savin, now published weekly every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern. I also publish a monthly 1 hour program titled The 40,000 Foot View. You may want to check that out. Please visit and bookmark johnmichaelchambers.com and my Rumble channel to view these episodes. Also, be sure to visit thejennifermack.com to avail yourself to an arsenal of films, books, and swag that's continuously being created for our MAGA movement with the signature and seal of Juan O'Savin all over it. Juan has been serving this nation since the time of Ronald Reagan. He is very well connected, and I'll just leave it at that. His clandestine assignments and self-imposed directives, many of which are unknown to the public, play a critical role in protecting this nation and its interests for decades. He's a good friend and a most valuable voice and resource for this new media, speaking on this and many other platforms. Thanks again, Juan, for joining me here today and our audience.
Yep, glad to be here.
All righty, we're going to jump right into it. We have 30-minute segments. I usually chew up about 5 minutes of it in the beginning and the end. So that gives you about 25 minutes or so. Let's go. With the endless attacks on President Trump and the rapidly eroding freedoms and continuous threats from the present regime in this post-constitutional government, we are now seemingly trapped in. Many people across America believe we are losing this battle. That's the theme here. We are losing this battle. So the question is very simple. Are things just being revealed and we're noticing these things for the first time as the people that are waking up to the truths? So the question is, are things getting worse or being revealed? Talk with us, Juan.
Well, okay, John, we're recording this a little bit early, and I want people to understand that within my circle, we're very aware of some of the timing of what we're doing. You're seeing and have seen by this time numerous drops concerning the exact names and locations of people that were involved in stealing the vote in 2020. I'll give you one thing that's actually been put out there now, and you've seen it. Where was Hunter Biden in the days immediately before the 2020 election, November 3rd of 2020? Of all places on planet Earth, he's geolocated, and it's in the Hunter Biden laptop data. He's located on planet Earth, of all places, 1 mile, actually a little less, from the Dominion headquarters, who run the Dominion vote machine, where the software was written in most of those machines for the US election. He's 1 mile from there, not in America, but in Serbia. And the data that was released from Stephanie Lambert's investigation into the Dominion stuff that's part of these lawsuits, not one, but multiple now, where the data is being referenced from her discovery process inside of Dominion on behalf of Lindell and Pat Byrne, and that's going to be used in other cases. It shows that Hunter Biden was less than a mile from Dominion's headquarters. What were the Dominion people doing? Their emails, their texts show criminal activity. The sheriff in Michigan, Dar Leaf, began an investigation when that material was turned over to him by Stephanie Lambert. And the investigation showed that these people were involved in criminal activity. He's written a letter to Jim Jordan over in Congress requesting that Congress, January 6th committee, the Judicial Oversight Committees, review that material concerning the manipulation of the 2020 election so that we can pursue prosecution of these criminal activities, that Congress needs to step in and do something about this, because you have evidence, not talk, not banter, not the stink of manipulation. Remember what was going on in the court cases over the last couple of years. All these cases trying to get to the election fraud of 2020. As the experts came in, they testified about what they were seeing in the data, which was indicative of computer algorithms being used that could not be normal human voting converted to digital, lodged in the machine, because the patterns did not show the randomness of artificial entries, information pulled out of the election system. It was indicative of computer-generated algorithms working towards a particular end, modified data, artificial data, okay? And yet in the courts were using words like speculative. While it was suggestive, that's not evidence. So it'd be like, well, I didn't see the guy. We didn't know where he was between the hours of such and so, and that's right when somebody was murdered or the bank was robbed. And so, because we can't say specifically where he was, it must have been him that robbed it. And the court is actually correctly saying in many of these cases, while you have the stink of it, while you have the suggestion, the possibility, you do not have the evidence of the crime. So it's speculative, but it's not with any tangible basis. Now what you have emerging into the world, we have the actual people who worked the problem, who did the election theft, saying, I did it, here's how I did it, here's our communications between some of the members that I was associated with who contributed and assisted in doing this, here's the time frame, and you have something else, such as with the computer data, the Dominion data out of Tina Peters' computer in Colorado. We have the ability to go back and look at the actual machine data that was recorded prior to and after the election, and to compare what the people said was done with what's actually in the computers. And that comparative analysis verifies that what they said is true. It'd be like in the case of a guy that comes in and says, you know, I committed a murder. Okay, so where's the body? I threw it in the ocean. Well, where's the weapon? I threw it in the ocean also. Well, how are you going to prove that they did it? There might be a crazy person that should be in an institution. You know, you have people that want to, fame or whatever, that come in and confess to, crimes all the time, but they didn't really do it. They just want the attention. So in this case, well, we had people saying that they were involved in the vote fraud and in the manipulation. We didn't have the tangible data. Once we got, for example, Tina Peters' computer, we had something to go back and compare what they said happened, the way that files were hidden, and see if that, in fact, was the same. It'd be like Patrick Byrne likes to use the comparison of the Enigma machine, till you actually got a machine, and then we created a computer to analyze the data and to tie it all together. We couldn't sew it all up and actually have the full picture. We now have the data, the people who said how they did it, what they did, and we have the corpus delicti, the body of the evidence, even from within the machines. And we have people saying, look, I was in Serbia, I did it, here's the programs we used, here's who we communicated with in the United States, here's who we communicated with over at Dominion. This is what we did. You have the murderer, you have the body of the evidence, the corpus delicti, and you have the methodology and the communications corroborating what they said and corroborating the crime scene evidence. So you really have a much more complete picture. Now the public is confronted with uh, those realities. You're the jury. The people of the United States and the world now have the evidence and will continue to have more of that, by the way, during every week, every month in the remainder of the year. But there will be adequate, there really is already adequate information at this moment, time of this broadcast, to come to a conclusion. Look, Hunter Biden, geolocated with his computer within a mile of Dominion's software writing location in Serbia at the exact timing of the election. You think that's a coincidence of all the places? Why isn't he with the hookers in China or Mexico or San Diego or San Francisco? He's there because he's there on a mission. And the American people, the world, are going to have to pick a lane. You're the jury. How are we going to fix this? Like Kim Clement said, there's a moment coming for America and the world when you will have to say, we have two presidents, one that's fraudulent, one legitimate. Pick a lane. And the consequence of a good pick or a bad pick, you got to live with the bed you made. You got to live with these people in power, with what they're capable of doing. Do you want the personal responsibility of what they're capable of on the verge of nuclear war in Central Europe? Doing atrocities like was done in Moscow, which was done by Western groups under the moniker of ISIS, okay? Actually, a proxy war fought through proxy agent provocateurs to bring the West and the world into some kind of a conflict where we wipe each other out, so these globalistas that are actually the ones pulling the strings can take control of the world in the vacuum of power that would come from a worldwide World War IV, which is what they desire. That's the moment we're in.
Well, fascinating. And we can see, folks, sometimes we get the truth a little bit later from the events when they're taking place. And that's kind of what I want to chat. I took a few notes here. I want to ask you a few things. We see, on daily news, the mainstream news world, the Google controlled mechanisms online and so forth, the social media platforms. What we're seeing is, instead of the confiscation of Trump Tower in New York, we've got P. Diddy's two homes are being looked at and raising the issue of sex trafficking at the same exact time. We have the endless attacks against Donald Trump, but right now, of course, ongoing, the state of New York. And while we have a little win here along the way with the bond being brought down to something else, the attacks are endless and they're not going to stop until they are removed. But what I'm building something up here with the question. We have the economic issues, which are weighing heavy on the American people, the banking crisis that's unfolding right before their eyes, and everything I'm saying here. And those listening, you hear this on mainstream news. You see this if you peruse the Fox.news, the foxnews.com. It's out there for the quote sheeple, the normies, those just waking up to the issues. It's out there for the world to see. And everything doesn't look good. We've got the horrors of crime on the streets. We've got lack of police protection. We've got all these people coming across the borders that are the squatter issue. It looks like we're losing, especially with what they're doing to President Trump. The economic issue, the concerns about the banks, the concerns about the global coordinated attack to drive the dollar down, the BRICS, which is extended now to probably more than a dozen countries. We're looking at all this. We see Biden as the president. We're still getting false reports from false news outlets like CNN and Fox, for that matter, in terms of ridiculous polling on Trump versus Biden and all of this nonsense. And a lot of people in America, and this is the question again, just to get you to comment on sort of what I dripped out here is are things getting worse or are they being revealed? You know, I see things getting better. People then say, well, how are things getting better? When people are dying and now they want the new form of a jab to come out and so forth and so on. I have a very simple answer. Until the audience grasps this, and I know our audience does, but you can share this show with those that you're bringing aboard right now because we love our brothers and sisters and we want to help them. This is our war. We are at war, perhaps one of the worst uh, wars of all wars. All wars have casualties in them. These are the casualties of our war, the aftermath of the genocide jab, and so forth and so on, and all the things I've just mentioned, and the carnage that comes in the kinetic war that you heard about in last week's episode with Juan. That's a lot there, Juan. We've got about 5 minutes left. If you want to take us out of this broadcast, summarizing things for our viewers, are things getting worse or are things just being revealed?
You know, this is be a bizarre way of putting it, I suppose, but you know, when I was a kid, um, you'd get a swelling on the face or something where you had a pimple that wanted to come out. And one of the things I was taught that helped is put a hot compress on it. Or if I'm out in the sunshine, or I'm on the beach and like that, I get a lot of sun on it. And what it does is it helps to bring the pimple to a head, okay? And brings it to the surface. And if you try to pop it early, you end up just with a big, horrible red spot and it makes the whole thing worse. If you let it alone and let the poisons, the toxins, concentrate and come to the surface, the immune system itself is working against it to bring it to the surface. And then at some point, you can lance it, pop it, do whatever, and it will get the poisons out and let the healing begin and scab over and get it sorted out. But the heat, the sunlight, the help to bring it to a head. In legal terms, we talk about a case ripening to the point where a judge can actually make a decision, where it can go to trial, and a jury can actually look at all the issues. You've got to bring the information. There's got to be full disclosure. There's got to be, Brady. The other side has to know what you have and how you got it, and bring it to the surface. In all of the events related to election 2020, it's taken time in the legal arena for all of that to begin to ripen, and all of the attacks on Trump to solidify and come together. Look at the latest thing that by now your audience has heard about as I speak this moment, aren't actually out in the public. We have information about Stormy Daniels and her attorney Avenatti, who colluded to set Trump up years before 2016. And we have people who were aware of this even prior to this happening and since, who've made the allegation, which will still have to be vetted out, but didn't come out during the initial trial, showing that Trump wasn't guilty. They tried to set him up and make the appearance of certain things happening that had no basis in truth. There was a killer that was out years ago that was involved in the Smiley Face murders and other stuff, allegedly. And his big thing was to set people up for a crime, plant DNA evidence, hair, blood, other things, people that he knew. And then he would be an innocent person in the background who would set them up and then literally enjoyed going to watch them going through the trial process and be convicted. That's how twisted this person was. And an associate of mine up in Montana revealed and broke through on those cases and did some amazing investigative work to show that this was happening and who the person was that did this for decades and decades as his own form of satanic worship. We are in a situation today where now the truth is coming out. It's becoming more and more apparent. The collusion, the interactions of the people involved in trying to set not just America up, I should say not just Trump up, but America and the world to get their own little designs done. These were acts of war committed against individuals, the Trump family, if you will. Remember that members of the Trump family, there was active attempts to set them up to make it look like they were involved in criminality. And had they not been savvy enough to be waved off and not get involved in some of those business deals, etc., they could have been sucked in, and it would have had the appearance that they were involved in shady dealings, but they avoided it, fortunately. We've been set up as a country to attack each other and to take America off the rails into civil war. And the American people are now getting enough information, and enough time was bought in this intervening period to allow the situation to ripen. And now you're getting the rest of the information. The saboteurs, the provocateurs, the way that they were working together and coordinating their actions from a half a world away, not just in Serbia, not just in Venezuela or Italy or Germany or France, but multiple locations to try to, via acts of war, bring America to civil war, to destroy each other and the American dream, so that these monsters could move into the vacuum of power and take over the world. It didn't work. We're seeing that now. We're understanding that better. And now is the moment when true Americans will come together, fight these monsters, pop these pimples on somebody's ass, and be done with it and get on with life. And it will be difficult. It will be grinding, but we will prevail by God's grace and take back our country, take back the world. And those people that were prophesying the demise of the MAGA movement, make America great again, will be shown to be assholes and idiots. Their beliefs, their hopes are asinine. America's coming back. You can bank on it. I'm betting on it. I'm all in. I believe your audience is too. Keep the faith. Don't despair. A better day is coming.
Amen. And I want to comment here. You just stated a few moments ago, and it was so well put in the examples and analogy you were making, that we've been set up. The American people have been set up over a long period of time, ramped up heavily with the advent of all this technology. We've been set up to attack each other and let ourselves bring each other down, and then they come in for the close. So, the three words that come to my mind listening to 107 just a moment ago is unite in truth. Get to the truth. Here are some pointers where you will find some truth in terms of listening to resources and broadcasts. Of course, follow 107. You have the X22 report. While I don't agree with everything, all the names I'm about to roll off, these are good patriots that are doing good work. You've got to get to the truth and then do your own homework. Don't take my word for it or anybody else's. We're doing the best we can to point you in the direction of truth so we can unite in truth and not let them come in for the close. As Juan just stated, we will win this battle, of course. We are on God's side. You have the X22 report. You have Nino Rodriguez. You've got Scott McKay, Michael Jaco, perhaps Patriot.tv, formerly, recently merged and acquired my company, American Media Periscope. You got Mike Lindell's platform. You've got great journalists like Alex Newman, good friend of mine, Laura Logan. Go find the truth. It's right before you now. And a lot of people are putting their lives in the line to get it out there for you. And one of those people is Juan O'Savin. I want to thank you, Juan. We got about 60 seconds. If you just want to close us out one more time, I appreciate it.
The one thing that we're all going to have to focus on, we cannot go along with this fallacy of being able to protect the vote through the electronic voting system. The concept of banking the vote, voting early, and making that work is also asinine. It will become clearer and clearer that doing this through the existing electronic vote system is impossible. You can't fix the machines. They're already fixed. We must ditch that whole system for the coming election. When it finally does happen, it will have to be a paper ballot one day, with the votes counted where they're cast. No transporting them in the back of a police car or a tank. We're going to get to an honest vote. We're going to get the people that we truly want and that we have asked to represent us into office, come hell or high water. And until we do, we're not settling for this bullshit that's been foisted upon us by these monsters stealing America one vote at a time. Thanks, John.
You bet. And thank you, Juan. And I'm so glad you raised that. People saw me taking a note. Yeah, there's actually something called paper and pen. I'm using that at the moment because I'd like to do a dedicated show in the near future on that subject about will there be an election in 2024 and how might all this play out. You started touching on the importance. Of course, we don't have a country till we straighten out 2020. Thank you so much, Juan O'Savin. I want to thank our audience for joining us. I am John Michael Chambers, in another source for you to follow for information. Intel and Insights with Juan O'Savin, published every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And join me on my monthly 1-hour program, The 40,000 Foot View. Also, be sure to visit and bookmark johnmichaelchambers.com, my Rumble channel, and thejennifermack.com to avail yourself to an arsenal of films, books, and swag for the MAGA movement with Juan O'Savin's signature and seal all over it. You'll want to go check that stuff out. And remember, where we go one, we go all. Stay safe out there, and God bless you.
We have all been awakened at last. Before me now I can see, oh, what it means to be free. Gone are the ways and routines of the past. All the indifference has changed in a flash. Family and friends, the courageous have died. Oh, the cost of freedom runs high. Each of our calls. of America is in every man. I am America.